Hey guys, good to see you. Let me turn this off right quick. Yeah. So, all right. So today we're going to go back on to part two of the Plain Sea movie we were watching. I came into our media room so it'd be nice and quiet because the whole family's home and I didn't want to hear my dogs barking. But anyway, so good to see everybody. Come in whenever you can. You know, I always say that because I know we're all busy. We all have things to do. I really appreciate you watching or listening or however you choose to get with my channel. It's always nice to know. But anyway, so without further ado, let's go ahead and I'm going to start playing this because I think we have like 45 minutes of this left. I'm playing a little soft music behind it because I don't want to deal with, trying to be careful with YouTube as usual. So here we go. Let's go ahead and get this going. So here we go, part two.
Most people said you can't do that. No billboard company's gonna let you do that.
Yeah.
They're not gonna put it up. Really, think?
Of course, no problem. People have been nudging their friends and pointing at the truck.
While I was at the bar scene last night, two young ladies were passing the truck. They weren't most sober, but they pointed at the truck and was like, "I love you," whatever that means. But I don't know. Maybe the truck, maybe they resonated with the message.
I'm just a messenger. I'm just the person who happens to drive the truck.
Oh, man, look at it. It's so big and bright.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful. I cannot tell you how gorgeous. I mean, it's just popping out. Oh my God, so pretty.
We've been kicked off of Instagram, most likely to getting a lot of attention from people who want to report us and don't want us sharing this information. So we're trying to appeal it.
It's a different Texas now, and I wish we'd been talking about these bills way before now. We're going to have to be extremely careful about anything we post on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and I even have to watch the words that I say when I go on television. Even though it should be freedom of speech, I need to start censoring myself in a way.
I'm taking very seriously the fact that you've said that continuing to talk to us is still open to figure out what effective partnership we can do. Basically, we're very open also to have it be an unofficial partnership. All of you in Texas who are at higher risk of being sued, so that nobody can come after you because they're coming after us. We have made the decision that we are not going to become more quiet. We're going to become louder.
Good luck on your road trip. Y'all are, I feel, doing the Lord's work.
My mom has always said that her biggest sin, according to my grandfather, her father-in-law, was I was born a girl. I was supposed to be the oldest son of the oldest son of the oldest son. Hope Valley had a little red schoolhouse. For a long time, it was one teacher for 8 grades. It's all boys. Boys who have shot their fingers off with shotguns and rough little boys. I was damned if I was going to be treated with the expectations of a girl in this rural town where girls were truly not respected. you can't do this. This is actually illegal, and they're going to come after you. And have you got your LLC? How can you protect your house? How come your husband lets you do this? Are you sure you shouldn't be firebombed? Are you sure you don't have security in your house? Have you put up cameras? I've heard this all my life. You cannot run and hide with a bully. When you call the bully on their bluff, they don't come after you. The only way you get out of dealing with the bully is to stand up to a bully. You're going to be the one who successfully
All right, I have to
stops
stop
me.
this for fair use. I know y'all get that.
No fucking way.
Hang on just a
Texas
second.
going to be the one to gets me to stop talking about what I know is a
Anyway, all right. So, we've been talking about this, and played the first half of this movie the other day. And there's just a lot of information here that I'm sure a lot of people don't know what's out there. So another thing I've been trying to find is how many stories are there of the exact situation that Mr. Banta chose for his girlfriend without her knowledge? I believe there's more than we ever hear about, but they don't talk about it because it seems to be such a controversial situation, and people don't want to be judged, so they don't talk about it. And I just really think it's really, really, it's sad. It really is, because again, whatever you choose for yourself is your business, not mine, not anybody else's. It's not up to us to judge. None of that. So I just really wish this was talked about more. I wish it was more open. I understand why people feel that they can't talk about it. I understand all of that. But I want to check this out. So let's look at this. Let's see. How many times, we're going to ask, how many times did someone get charged? Hang on. I know I should have done this earlier, but I just decided I want to do it. How many times did someone get charged for slipping Lancy pills? I know there's just not the two. I know we talked about Justin Banta, of course, but there's another one also as well that we talked about the other day. The Mason Herring case is one. The Justin Anthony Banta case is one. I know there's more. There cannot be the only ones out there. There cannot be just two people who have done this. I just don't believe that. So let's look through this for a minute and see if we can find anything else. Well, that was the Herring case. Let's see, which case is this? This is that one. There's that one. I don't know. It's kind of like I know this has been reported before. I know it has. Let's see here's something else, okay? Now this is from the Supreme Court. We're going to talk about this as well because there's so many people trying to make decisions for everybody that they don't have the right to make. So on June 13th, 2024, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that Alliance for Hippocratic Medicine versus the FDA, that is, does not have standing to sue the FDA for injury. The court had been asked to ascertain whether or not the FDA had violated federal law when it modified its guidelines for prescribing and dispensing the M pills that are used in this, right? So that is what that case is about. Because back in 2022, they had ruled Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, which is another one of these. It says medication for the A word, also known as medical A or A, with pills in termination protocol that involves taking two different drugs, the M and the other M. Okay, they're two different ones, but they work together, and they are off uses of this medication. This is not how it was originally prescribed. Just know that. Okay, so it says that this can be used safely up to the first 70 days or 10 weeks of the unwanted pee. All right. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration and the World Health Organization has authorities that say it can be used up to 12 weeks, okay? So that the FDA first approved this drug in the 2000s. Its use in the United States has quickly grown. In 2023, 63% of all A words, okay, in the U.S. were done through medication. The medication for a drug regimen approved in the FDA is available in many states across the nation. However, dispensing these pills for the purpose of terminating the P word is now banned in some states. This fact sheet provides an overview of medication A word and how it's used and regulated, the role of the drug in self-managed A words, and an analysis of the intersection of federal and state regulations pertaining to its provisions and coverage. So here we go again. We have the federal government determining what's best for you. I just don't think it's right. But anyway, we're going to go back and listen to some more of our film here. So bear with me. Hang on. Here we go. Let's see if I find the whole thing here. Here we go.
Justice issue.
I love life. I love life. I love life. I love life. Right to life. Right to life. Right to life. We know you won't do that. I don't think you can murder your babies. Very soon, abortion will be considered murder, and this people is criminal.
Fuck the church! Fuck the state! You can't make us procreate!
"26-year-old Lizelle Herrera now faces a murder charge after her hospital passed information on to the local sheriff's office. It investigated and determined she had a self-induced abortion.
Let's say that New York passes a law protecting providers to provide telemedicine abortion to people in Texas. So the providers are protected, but what about the people in Texas ordering the pills? Think about the case of Lizelle Herrera, who was the woman down on the border who just a month or two ago was criminally prosecuted for miscarriage. And the prosecutor dropped the charges because in fact, at the time, Texas had no laws criminalizing self-managed abortion or miscarriage, but I think that is very likely to change. I think states are going to go after women. The kinds of toys that police have, the technology they have to surveil people, the gear that they have to go after people, that whole apparatus is vast. They can take your phone and download everything from your phone. And if there's a digital record of you searching for abortion pills or purchasing them online, they will have that information. That kind of digital technology and machine learning surveillance is going to combine post-Roe to allow anti-abortion states to surveil, investigate, charge, and prosecute people who self-manage abortions.
When you're going to be talking to people about abortion or even about your pregnancy in general, if you don't think you're going to keep it, you need to only talk to people that you know for sure are going to respect that privately, but also never put it in writing anywhere. None at all. Like if you're going to text somebody, use Signal, have disappearing messages, get a throwaway account. If you're gonna ask somebody on Facebook if they know where you can get pills, or even do you know where I can find money? Do you know where a clinic is? People right now in abortion groups on Facebook are in them who are anti-abortionists. And they go and they figure out, okay, all right, it says in their Facebook profile that they are in a relationship with this person. I'm going to contact them and let them know that they are trying to find an abortion so that that person will try to talk them out of it. That's what happens in groups online right now. It's not even just about, hey, you might end up in jail. It's everybody's going to know your business.
The medical risks of abortion have waned with the advent of abortion pills, which is great. Unfortunately, the legal risks continue to exist. In 100% of the cases that we're working on right now, the person who was prosecuted is experiencing intimate partner violence or was experiencing intimate partner violence, and the fact of their
Magic Star.
abortion is
Hey, Magic
a
Star,
tactic
so good to
that
see you.
users use to control them, to say, you know, if you leave or if you don't do what I want, I'm going to tell the cops, you know, what you did. Once people tell their story to somebody else, they lose control over it. And you know, and that's one of the other ways that we see people be prosecuted, is that they tell somebody, you know, they tell a friend and the friend tells her sister and her sister is opposed to abortion, or somebody misunderstands and thinks that there's a body on the property, right? Like these are the kind of things that really happen. And so like helping people understand, like, you know, if you tell somebody, you effectively told law enforcement.
Buying abortion.
Yeah, I'm going to stop this for fair use. Hang on just a minute, okay, guys? I know y'all, I know this is not fun, have to do it this way, but
what kind of world are we living in
well,
where that's
that's
a
what we
possibility?
have, so we do what we
I
got
mean,
to
I
do.
don't think any physician has any.
Anyway, all right. So I had to stop for fair use, but still good to see you. So I don't know, you know, I went back and fixed my moderators and things, and I don't know why your reach is not showing up. I don't know what I did wrong because it used to be there, but anyway, so good to see you. So what I'm doing is I'm just talking about this today, and I'm gonna finish up this video because I think I had like 45 minutes of it left, and then we'll come back on Monday and talk about it some more. But I wanted to finish this up because this movie is kind of interesting, really, and I just want to finish it. But anyway, good to see you. You know, it is flooding in Texas. It is really bad. It is really real. Our creek bed behind us you can hear the water just rushing so fast, filled with debris. It's just very dangerous, and it's still raining. It's still raining. It's just hard to believe it's like that. Ooh-wee. So anyway, now before I played that little section, I was reading to you guys about the regiments and how the federal government got involved with this whole situation. Okay, so the next part of this says, I'm not going to say the names. I have a dentist appointment at few, but that's good. Thank you. Okay, you take care of yourself. It's okay. Come watch the rest of it later. You know how I am. I really should have done this as a podcast, but I always think, well, then I won't be able to talk to my friends because I want to talk to y'all. But anyway, take care of that mouth, honey, please. Anyway, good to see you, Magic Star. So I'm going to keep reading this for a few minutes, then we'll go back and watch the rest of this movie. So the two drugs that start with an M and M. The most common medication for A regimen in the United States involves the use of those two things. Also known as the A pill or RU 400, is sold under the brand name of, I'm not going to say the words because I don't want to be kicked off, M. It works by blocking progesterone and hormone essentials to the development of P word, and thereby by preventing an existing P word from progressing. The M word taken 24 to 48 hours after the first M word works to empty the female organ. This is hard to do when you can't use the real words, you know. So, here we go. To causing the cramping, the bleeding, similar to an early miscarriage. Okay. Then it says, a follow-up visit can be scheduled a week or two later to confirm that this was through ultrasound or blood test. The FDA has found that this medication is safe and highly effective method, right, for P termination. When taking medications for A successfully terminates the pregnancy 99.6% of the time with a 0.4% risk of major complications, okay? That's less than 0.0001% or 0.00064, and that's pretty low. But you know what? If you're that one person that has that complication, you know, you're going to have to end up seeing a doctor, and then of course you're going to be judged, which I just don't like that. I don't think it's fair. The FDA first approved this in 2000. In 2016, the FDA updated and approved a new evidence-based regime and drug label. This regime approves use of medical A for up to 70 days or 10 weeks. Okay, that's something they talked about. Until 2019, this particular thing was only sold under the brand name of Amprex. Okay, I'm just going to say that, Amprex. All right. So then, Go back over here. They, in 2021, they announced they would not enforce the in-person dispensing requirement that had been in effect since the approval of the N-word. With the new REMS in 2023, the in-person dispensing requirement was formally removed. Okay, which that's good because people could go and do these things without having to feel judged or looked down upon or treated poorly. While the combined regimen of this and that for the medical medication A is recommended, there's a second medication for A protocol using that second word, MISOPROSTOL only, that is more commonly used internationally, okay, and currently not approved by the FDA. The regime is also recommended for up to the 70 days or 10 weeks. It involves taking 800, which is 4 of these pills, guys, milligrams of MISO POL sublingually, or the B word, every 3 hours for a total of 12 pills. Research has shown that this method to be a safe and highly effective method. However, it may result in higher incidences of side effects, particularly when you're in the bathroom all day. You don't want that, right? Fever, chills. When taken with the other M word only, it successfully terminates and approximately 80 to 100% of the time. Okay, what's 80 to 100? Okay, that you have to have, you can't have 80 and 100. It has to be both. You got to pick one or the other, not 80 or 100. That's a little weird to say. With a complication rate of less than 1%. Some U.S. telehealth organizations have been providing this as an option for medication A for a number of years. Well, that's amazing. Okay, so let's go back and watch some more of our film. Here we go. I wish I could turn it off right here, but it doesn't work like that. Oh, here we go.
Obligation anywhere by law to report people for any of this, but some idiots think they should, and that's terrible. That's not our role as physicians. We're not police.
My friend handed me a little sandwich baggie, and I realized that this was a different medication regimen than I'd had in the past. I was used to the Mify-Mizo combo, and they'd given me only misoprostol. I was not prepared for that level of pain, and it went on for over 4 hours, and to the point we grew concerned because I had not experienced something like that before. And my boyfriend just said, if we make it to the 5-hour mark, I'm taking you to the ER. You know, at that point, I wasn't even concerned about what was going on with my body. I was just concerned about what does it look like to go to the ER when I'm in this position? And what is it? What happens if my miscarriage is questioned? And what happens when this person that's with me brought me in and is sitting next to me? It could have been someone saying, you are having a self-managed abortion right now, and here's this individual that brought you in and is assisting you in that process. I don't know, but we kind of walk through some of the possibilities. And luckily, right around 4 hours and 45 minutes, I passed the pregnancy, the cramp stopped, and it was like, oh, at least I had access to a safe option. Safe medically, though legally risky.
I had a patient who called the hotline a few weeks ago who was 5 5/7 weeks and was seen at Planned Parenthood with a positive test, but couldn't be seen for 3 more days. And then they would do an ultrasound. And then if they saw anything, she wouldn't be able to get help. And I just thought, Wait, you were in Planned Parenthood. You were requesting this, and you had to leave and come back. Like, it's just ridiculous. What's to prevent me from prescribing it for somebody in Texas when they're not pregnant?
Exactly.
I get frustrated by everybody trying to follow the rules, instead of what really needs to be done.
Oh, keep it on.
So I feel so strongly about, fighting for these things that I'm willing to take some risks.
The biggest issue now is product. See if I can get the fake drugs in there by 3 days instead of three weeks. Even if you find out or you're so regular with your period and you know right away I missed my period and I need this and I access this, and you add 3 weeks to that, it's 7 weeks. When you push on the envelope, and especially the envelope about what's legal and what's not, there is always, each person has to take one step further than what everybody else thinks is legal, or otherwise you're not being bold, you're not doing anything. As people are trying to figure out how much liability are they willing to take, that's their decision, and it could be a dangerous one. I'm in a place in my life I can take the risk that maybe I couldn't have earlier. I have to do it on my own. I'm going to, on my own, do this on the side. I'm not sure this one's going to make it. I have some doctors I was telling you who
have to stop right
willing
now.
to just
Very
say,
easy.
well,
No,
I have
guys.
some extra product that I got.
All right. Now, let me read a little bit of this other stuff to you. Okay, hang on. I know it's kind of. All right. Because I wanted y'all to be able to see all this, but I also need to keep in mind that, with YouTube, they are so. I just don't want to get in trouble with YouTube, so I'm just trying to do this the best I can to keep that from happening. So we just talked about this, the telehealth organizations that some of them are still are prescribing this, which is, I guess, that's up to them. They have like the attorneys and everybody else to make legal decisions. So the risk evaluation and mitigation strategies are the REMS. In 2011, the FDA added a risk evaluation and mitigation strategy to the dispensing requirements for these two, permitting only medical providers who have obtained certification from the manufacturer to prescribe and directly dispense this. This requirement had an effect of limiting the number of clinicians able to provide this, but also necessitated an in-person visit to a healthcare setting and meant patients could not obtain the EMS from a retail pharmacy or by mail. All right, now this was back in 2011. However, on December the 16th of 2021, the FDA removed the in-person dispensing requirement for the M word and expanded the distribution to include certified pharmacies in addition to certified clinicians. This change removed the requirement to dispense the M's in person and expanded the opportunity for telehealth in states that have not banned it. Despite the change to the in-person requirement, the prescribers are still required to be certified by the manufacturer. All right. But on January the 3rd of 2023, the FDA further approved a protocol for pharmacies allowing those to have been certified by the manufacturers to dispense this M word directly to the patient. But in March of 2024, see, every year this comes up and they keep talking about it. They're constantly making changes to it. What we don't know is, are they further trying to stop women from having rights to their own body? Or is this truly out of concern for the people who may not be using this correctly, who may be using this as some kind of BC, which we know that's really not right. But anyway, but to each their own. Again, I'm not judging anybody. This is for educational purposes only, because I think everybody needs to know what's really out there. I don't want this to be just a secret over there. And until I saw the Justin Banton case, it was sad in a blonde moment too, but I did not realize this was out there. Okay. But again, I'm way past childbearing age and all that. You know that. But anyway, let's keep on going. So here we are on March the 24th, in March of 24, two major pharmacy chains in the U.S. announced they had become certified in dispensing the N-word and would start dispensing this medication to patients in certain states later than the month and later dates in the month. And then there's a little table that shows all the different changes, but I can't show it on here. But anyway, and here we're going to talk about the state regulations and availability. So let me play a little bit more of this, and we'll talk about that next. The state regulators and the availability they have made on it. Now, here we go. Hang on.
Has to stay anonymous so that we can get into the red states where there are laws that won't allow us to do it the other way. The decision making is now red state, this is the distributor, no longer the Indian distributor.
We are sister movements and we are allies. So Francine reached out to us asking if we would be interested in supporting their movement. You know, I just heard that we're gonna get a donation and I'm like, I'm gonna buy a safe because I'm just like literally keeping it in my desk. It's like with my kids' roller skates. We have cut out the sides that have the indicator that could be identified to any specific position, and then ensure that the pills don't rattle. And then to the post office, people will receive packages within 2 to 4 days, depending on where they're located. Lots of Texas, also South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Florida. And we're not talking about cities, we're talking about rural areas. I am personally packaging. I don't want to put anyone else at risk, and I understand that this is a risky situation. So I am putting the risk on myself. I come from a long line of firefighters. The recognition of an emergency and the need to respond to it is something that is part of who I am.
And when you hold those packages,
Feels like a revolution.
I feel like the Wizard of Oz or something, because I'm still behind everything. I was the first one, and the next shipment is going out by somebody else, and then we have a third one lined up, and then I think I have a fourth person lined up to get medications in the hand of this organization. And what they're doing is mailing medications to people who are too far to wait along in their pregnancy to wait for a shipment from India. We're putting fingers in the holes, but they're going to be more and more. The worse it gets, the more you go, okay, forget it.
Every day we're learning new ways to get people pills, and we're getting better and better at it.
What we haven't figured out is how to just get you the immense amount of product that is faster and faster you need.
I would say I probably have enough for another week and a half of distribution.
Oh dear. Well, we can probably do another box.
A couple months we'll be back asking again, you want to do it again? Because it's underground and because you don't want to get too many people involved to know about the underground, that every time you add another provider willing to do this, that's another person who knows. Even asking a provider and finding out they don't really feel comfortable, that's a person who knows without providing. I had a supplier in Mexico who was going to give me a huge amount. The problem was the legality of coming over with a suitcase of product. Who's going to take that risk, and who's going to do that?
What we're looking forward to is if we multiply Texas by 20 times, it's just going to be such chaos and craziness. Because the states that people in Texas rely on going to, other than New Mexico, are all going to be shut down as well as everything, in the South and Midwest for the most part. It's going to really be chaos. I just can't imagine how we can expand enough to take care of everybody.
Organizing and
Stop repeating
mobilizing
this, I'm
is
sorry.
really hard when you're scared and you're censored.
So right there, they're talking about Texas right there. And, if you live in Texas, you know all the rules, and you have to travel out of state and everything. But let's go back to the state regulations and availability, because this is a very interesting discussion that I found over here. And I'm going to give credit where credit's due. It's called kff.org. I don't know what the KFF stands for, but I will tell you guys. Because when I was looking for other cases where this has happened without the woman's knowledge, I know there has to be more than two. I know there does, but I haven't found them yet. But we will find them. So state laws that ban or restrict the A word apply to medication A's just as they apply to the procedure. There are currently large swaths of the country, mostly in the South and Midwest, that ban this, okay? Even though the federal FDA has approved the M as a safe and effective following the Dobbs decision, the availability of the medication for A today depends on the state laws. Even before the Dobbs decision, however, some states had restricted access to the M-A, but either by blocking the use of the telehealth A's or by mandating in-person visits for the A, imposing requirements for in-person dispensing or limiting the kind of clinicians who could dispense this. In many states, these laws are now superseded by state laws that ban A. Okay. Box 1. Now this is talking about this little spreadsheet that's up here, but I can't really put that up. So first thing they talk about is the conflict between federal and state regulations. There are two challenges in federal court about A prohibited and restrictions on the federal preemption grounds. The maker of a generic M medication, GenBioPro Inc., is challenging West Virginia's most total A plan, and an OBYN Gen Dr. Bryant in challenging the A restrictions in North Carolina. Wow. Okay. Okay. Oh boy. Which include requirements that the M be dispensed in person by a physician after state-mandated counseling sessions. Okay, when you talk about the state-mandated counseling sessions, that is when it comes back to when they would make these poor women go watch a video and say, this is your, at this stage, and again, I think that's kind of a shaming tactic, but I understand it, I do. And again, anything I am talking about here is not I'm not going to judge anybody, it's not my personal stance on it. I'm never going to make a statement as to what my stance is or is not. Okay, this is for educational purposes only, and I hope people understand that. So here we go. Okay. There was this mandated counseling sessions and a 72-hour waiting period after you had this counseling session. In both cases, plans argued that the FDA's authorization and regulation of the M preempt state law banning this use of the medication or regulating its use more strictly, and given this enforcement of the state laws should be blocked. Wow. There are other ways that state laws also affect use and access to medications for A. Some states require that the patients be counseled about the unsubstantiated claims about the ability to reverse the A after taking this, right? For example, Nebraska, a state that hasn't banned the A word, requires patients to be counseled that the medication A may be reversed if it gives a high dose of progesterone after taking the M word, despite lack of scientific evidence to support this claim. That is bad. Similarly, Utah requires counseling that M alone is not always effective in ending a pregnancy, and that patients may still have a viable pregnancy after taking the M word, despite its record of effectiveness prior to banning the A. Arkansas, Idaho, Kentucky, Oklahoma, South Dakota has similar requirements. Research demonstrates that the APC, such as a nurse practitioner, physician's assistant, or nurse midwife can provide this medication as safely as a physician can, but they are only permitted to do so in 24 states and the District of Columbia out of the 38 states, which, okay, and we're going to play some more of it, then we'll talk about the telehealth portion of this. Lots of facts, lots of interesting things. Here we go.
Demonstrators gathering again in response to that unprecedented leak of an opinion draft that suggests the court will overturn Roe versus Wade.
With the Supreme Court seemingly poised to overturn Roe versus Wade, it's looking more and more like a race among the states to pass the most extreme law restricting abortion.
It is time for Louisiana to stand up and end abortion.
Abortion is not health care. Abortion is not a service. Abortion, quite frankly, is more.
Over 80% of women that get an abortion are unmarried.
We're not talking about is it murder. You darn skippy, it's murder. We done established that. I have hope in our courts. I have hope in America. I have hope in the state of Oklahoma. And I have hope in the people that we're going to end sanctioned murder in the state of Oklahoma.
Declare the vote. 73 aye, 16 nay.
It's really hard to not take all of this home because we can sit here and we can think of all the women that have called and, you know, we tell them we're not taking appointments and they cry on the phone and they're like, I don't know what to do. And we're just like, you go home and you think about it. Did they call anybody else? What's going to happen? Did they give up?
A lot of people say, well, I guess I should just go kill myself then.
If I can't get an abortion, I'm gonna kill myself. And then she hangs up the phone.
It almost feels like when you're like if you're having a dream and you're walking down a hallway, like a long hallway, and you're just kind of stepping into this unknown, but you know you have to just keep going, but you don't know what's going to happen or what is at the end of that hall. I feel like that's what we're all doing. We're just like walking in the dark, trying to get to the end and see what's going to happen, and we just can't reach it. You just feel lost, you just feel alone, you just feel like you can't reach the end of it. It's never going to happen.
I take birth control and I skip the period pills. So if I were pregnant, I wouldn't even know it. I just started thinking like, I am sexually active and these are good for 2 years. And in 2 years, I'll order another set if I haven't taken them already. I told them I was doing this for advanced provision. I just want them just in case. I went to plancpills.org. They're from India, made their way through France. It took about 2 weeks for them to arrive after the time I ordered them. This is almost priceless. Living in Texas, having an anti-pregnancy kit is almost priceless. I'm just looking for good ideas because I don't know if we can rely on our lawmakers anymore.
When the Supreme Court draft leak happened, then I was working like 15 to 18 hours a day for 2 weeks straight, pretty much. And that was a bit exhausting.
Prior to the leak, for advanced provision, we would get about 40 requests per day, and that was from all 50 states. And then in the 2 days following the leak, we got 5,000 requests.
I got migraine stuff up the stairs.
Well, I just Advil.
Let me stop this for fair use. Hang on.
On that banana.
Been drinking enough water?
Probably. Not.
Because even if we go to bed.
Okay. It's time to stop for fair use. I know that it's taken a long time for this to for us to get through this, but I think it's very important. So for right now, I'm also going to go ahead. Let me go find this over here, guys. Hang on a second. Let's see if I can find that. Let me show this right quick too. Right underneath, that's good right there. Okay, because we have to show the copyright banner as well in order to not get struck for copyright. But anyway, so next thing I want, don't do that thing. Okay, we were talking about the regulations and availability a while ago before I had to stop. Now we're going to talk about how telehealth comes into all of this because it's very important. Telehealth can be used to expand access to health services in areas where the number of clinicians who provide the A-word care is limited. Many patients, particularly those who live in those rural communities, must travel long distances to obtain the A, and in states where the A is still permitted, which has raised interest in the potential of telehealth to expand access of the MA, which is the medication, because the updated FDA label now allows for telehealth. M-word has emerged as an option for patients who are either unable to travel to clinics or for other reasons wish to do this in the privacy of their own home, if permitted by state law. As part of the efforts to limit the A's access, some states have taken action to block the use of the telehealth for this. Among the states that have not banned, here are the 13 states that have at least one restriction that requires at least one trip to the clinic and effectively bans telehealth for medications. So the blue, okay, I'm going to kind of show you this. Okay, so I don't know if I can, okay, let's see that right there. You see the 13 states that have banned the telehealth from doing this. Okay, now let's talk about the next part, which is the cost. And this is where it kind of got a little bit shocking for me because I had no idea that it could be this expensive. However, there are some of these providers, what I also found, that tell you if you cannot afford this, it's okay. Just make a donation for what you can afford. I thought that's kind of interesting. But also, I think that some of this can run into problems with young people getting a hold of this that really should not have it. Although young people are active, we all know they are. Most parents of young girls, I'm going to say most, but I don't know this to be sure. I don't have little girls, but if I did, what would I do? See, I'm not sure about this. But a lot of them take them into their first visit to the doctor, and they'll, when they start seeing the OBGYN, and then they start talking about these things, and the doctor will say, hey, maybe we should look at this starting now to make sure that you don't have problems as you become what's the word I want to use? Through the teenage years. Okay, so we're going to leave it at that. So anyway, let's talk about the cost real quick. According to a recent study, the median self-pay price for this medication significantly increased from $495 in 2017 to $560 in 2020. Although Dayco Laboratories does not make the cost of the M public, providers report that the M alone costs them around $90 a pill. Wow, that is expensive. The GenBio Pro, the manufacturer of the generic M, also does not report the cost of their pill, but has stated that they want to drive down costs for those who choose medications. Private insurance coverage of this service is variable and depends on the type of insurance plan, the policyholder's state and residence, or employer coverage decisions. Federal Medicaid funding only pays for the A when the P is a result of a rape or incest or a threat of the person's life. 17 states have opted to use their own state funds. Wow, okay. To pay for this, including the medication rates. Okay. For Medicaid enrollees, for those who do not have A coverage, there are limited means of financial support promoted on both Dayco or GenBio's websites. The National A Federation, as well as local A funds, are sometimes able to cover some of the costs of an A, including travel for the person. Outside these funding sources or a sliding fee scale clinic, there are a few options to help with with this cost. I'm not going to use the word, kind of based on what we've been talking about. If I say the A word or the M word, I hope you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, use. Although the overall rate of this has declined over the past 2 decades, the use of medications as shared by all A's has greatly increased over the years. According to Danko Laboratories, by 2016, over 2.75 million women in the United States has used this since the FDA approved it in 2000. Data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention show medication A's have increased steadily over the past 15 years. A Guttemacher Institute report found that medication A accounted for 63% of all non-hospital A's in 2023, although this is likely an undercount since it does not include your self-managed A's. Okay, let's play some more of this, and then we'll talk about the self-managed. Here we go.
At the same time, I'll fall asleep and roll over and wake up 30 minutes later and she's on her phone doing more stuff.
A zombie law is a law that's been on the books from before Roe v. Wade. So there are states that have laws from the 1960s. There is at least one state that I know that has a law from the 1800s that is, banning abortion. And they just left them there, even though Roe v. Wade said it couldn't be enforced. And then now that we're looking at likely Roe getting overturned, any of those laws that are still sitting there will immediately be effective again. I mean, it's creating this like 1984 type states where they're going to try to monitor people coming and going from states, like traveling, and saying, okay, now that you've had a positive pregnancy test, if you leave the state at any point, you'll have to do a mandatory pregnancy test upon re-entering the state. And if it's negative, then we'll have to launch a full investigation as to whether or not you had a miscarriage or an abortion. And if it's found
let me stop that right there.
An abortion, then you'll be jailed.
In my opinion, that is overreaching by a state government to tell somebody if you leave the state and you are, or you're known to be, when you come back, they're going to test you. I don't know. That is bizarre, outrageous, and quite frankly, I think that is very overreaching. I don't know where this lady got this information. This particular information I'm showing you is a little bit older because this was prior to the overturn of the rules, where it was put out state, the states make the decisions, not the federal government make the decisions. But to me, that should never happen that way. Never. Anyway, hold on, guys. Let's go back and start. I'm sorry. I just had to make that statement because this upsets me. This upsets me to hear part of this.
All these things. And it feels crazy. It feels like a stretch, but it also doesn't at all. Like, I can foresee the path that might lead us there.
Almost 70% of our patients are parenting. They have multiple jobs. They're juggling school. They're juggling childcare. I mean, it's nuts, right? Making a decision to travel out of state. Most people trying to figure out how to make it work. Honestly, what option has the state really left you?
Our local patients are, like on edge. And we see some, happened in Texas, and then we get patients going, is this really good? Can we still do this? Because they're hearing about it in the news. So there's a lot of fear.
Literally, your zip code dictates the quality of your medical care.
Yeah.
Just because that's a law, not because that's what's best for you, not because that's what's best for a human being, not because it's what's best medically, not even because it's most profitable, which I could even like, I'm a mathematician, I could see that. It would at least make sense. The only thing that makes sense here is control.
It made me so angry that the journalists continue to trot out these desperate situations, providers could have met their needs by getting these women pills.
I'm here in this hotel. I have it because you were able to order it and you knew how to order it. But unfortunately, most of the U.S. doesn't know yet. The entire system is still rigged, really rigged, to assuming you're going to travel. We're going to get you to a clinic. Okay, we made you travel all the way here to LA, and here's your pill, and you're still going to have to manage this at home or in your car or in your hotel or wherever it is that it's going to take place. There isn't even that recognition on the part of the providers.
Francine is a very good idea person. And the balance of Francine and Elisa usually works well because Francine has these huge, big ideas that she just wants to go with. And Elisa is a great partner to say like, yes, but let's take a step back. Let's slow down. You know, there's one like version of pushing someone out of their comfort zone to try to expand what they're doing, but in a safe way. And then there's something where someone doesn't feel safe, and that's where you start to run into issues. I was on Twitter and saw the Twitter responses that were happening, so I took some screenshots and I immediately sent them to Francine, Elisa.
I guess I should have a timer on this, but I don't. The internet is getting weak.
The people in Texas were caught between the reality of helping their clientele, including the clinics, the reality of shutting the doors on all these patients that were their patients and who they take care of, and us coming in and saying, just let people know there's this option, when the lawyers were telling them if they even do that, they're going to get criminalized.
Well, first of all, we're in the middle of a call-out culture. Hell, everything is called out nowadays.
I agree.
That a lot of people think that deeply criticizing everybody else is the way you do social justice activism. And they have not figured out how divisive and counterproductive it is. How did that become the number one thing we need to be worried about when we're trying to fight fascism? That's piss poor threat assessment, in my opinion. To the extent you have the time and energy, why not keep it focused on the fascists instead of punching sideways within the movement?
We're all operating under such fear that I think communication's breaking down that in the relationship.
We've been out here for every single decision.
I didn't stop it for 30 seconds.
So, and back then it was just a dozen or 2 dozen of us out here. No.
So, I mean, listening to that, you can clearly, I mean, there's so much to say about that, those statements these ladies are making. Because, of course, living in Texas has the harshest rules on this, all right? Yet, the one man who's already been convicted of doing this to his wife only got 180 days in jail and 10 years of probation, and he was a licensed attorney. I'm sure the bar revoked his license, and they should have, because now he's done this. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember. I guess I need to look if it was considered it had to be a felony with that long of probation. I think it was a felony. So yes, they should remove him. Strip him of his bar license. You know, he should not be able to be an attorney and be on 10 years of probation for basically doing that. And it happened here in Texas as well. So anyway, let's talk about the self-managed portion of this. I'm really enjoying this article here because it tells a lot of information, the things that if people would, you can go read this and figure out, okay, if this is right for you, which is totally up to you, and nobody's going to judge. I'm not going to judge again. It's not my business. I just want to share the information for educational purposes only. Okay. So the self-managed A, sometimes referenced as a self-induced or at home, is when a person ends a pregnancy outside the medical care setting, typically by ordering this online. Patients may seek to manage their own A for many reasons, including state bans, clinic access barriers, cost, transportation, time limitations, and privacy. And I think privacy is the biggest one. I really do. Because because people are shamed all the time for the things they choose to do by other people, because we've got a lot of busybodies, a lot of Karens, that kind of thing. I can see the privacy issue. I could. If I was going to make that choice for myself, I could see that. But I'm not going to share what. This is so hard to do, guys, because I know it's so controversial, and I just want to keep it on the educational level, not on any kind of personal level. Anyway, so here we go. Wow. The difference between the medication protocols that can be used for a self-managed, as detailed in the JAMA review, an individual can take the FDA-approved medications, the regimes of pills, or the other one alone. There are a number of companies that offer self-managed A services using different approaches. Some companies have a clinician that reviews a customer's medical information and may have a telehealth visit. Other companies, such as Aid Access, based outside the United States, will just mail the medications to an individual without requiring a clinician's visit. These things operate a website that provides a list of online retailers in every state and includes information about the clinicians involved, the price, the ship time, the product quality, and as well as information about how to take this and resources for financial assistance. Okay. Prices differ in between companies, but typically costs are lower than average charges for an inpatient. As there are typically no involvement with a brick and mortar clinic. In 2017, a study found that the median cost of the M&M provider ordered online is approximately $205. Okay. Self-managed A's have occurred around the world for years, particularly in areas where this access to medical care systems has been limited. Before the FDA removed the REMS requirement for an in-person dispensing of this, access to telemedicine care was either through the medical system or the self-managed, was extremely limited in the United States. Interest in a self-managed A has grown through the recent years in the United States, particularly since the Dobbs decision. For example, research has documented a sharp increase in requests for this to the company Aid Access since the Dobbs ruling, rising from an average of 82.6 requests daily before the ruling to 213.7 per day, and is issued with the largest increase in states that have banned it. So more people in the states that have banned it are requesting this than ever before. None of the current state of A bans or restrictions criminalize people for obtaining a self-managed A. Yet there have been many documented cases of people facing criminal charges for self-managing this. Some states impose criminal penalties on clinicians or others who help on individuals obtain these services. These policies can create a climate of fear related to self-managed for both the patient and the clinician. For instance, if a patient were to present a clinician for complications, so if you have complications from this is where it kind of gets important. If you have complications from this and you go for follow-up care, the self-managed, some major medical or public health groups such as ACOG, AMA, or APHA oppose any criminalization of patients that seek self-managed. Here's the conclusion to this. From this, just give me a minute here. So I just don't want to get in trouble. I'm just kind of piggyback my words. The use of medication has grown significantly since its approval by the FDA in 2000. The FDA update of this in 2023 has expanded the availability of the medication and broadened the use of telehealth dispensing. However, state aid bans, specific bans on telehealth for medication and state level requirements for in-person counseling visits and ultrasounds that are not medically recommended will continue to restrict access for many states. And that is true. There's a whole list of these. I can't really put it up there. When I edit this, I'm going to edit this later and add some of this stuff to it so people can actually see what I'm actually reading from. And again, credit goes to the KFF org for this information. Very good information. So, this was from a year ago. So let me tell you what the KFF is. Hang on a second. Okay. Where did this come from? Oh boy. Okay. So the website I got this from was the HTTPS it's www.kff.org. So if you want to read this, it's from March 20th of 2024. It's very interesting, and I hope you enjoyed that. So let's go back and watch some more of our show. I don't know how many more minutes are left, but I want to finish this up today. So here we go.
Opposition, no pro-choice people caring about it. They're not as good at mobilizing as they are.
It's hard to fight for something when most people have already given up.
Breaking news regarding the Supreme Court opinion ruling. There is no longer a federal constitutional right to an abortion.
Abortion is up to the states, and it's about to become illegal in about half of them.
NBC's Pete Williams with the decision, the landmark decision from the United States Supreme Court.
All was quiet Friday morning at the West Alabama Women's Center. They have stopped all procedures and spent the better part of the day canceling appointments.
We are already seeing mass chaos among OBGYNs, emergency room physicians, OBGYNs who are sitting on patients in emergency rooms while they bleed, while their vital signs become unstable, while they're waiting for hospital lawyers to decide, is this patient sick enough?
We've been waiting to open the door for 50 years. Now that the door is open, we go to every state and the Congress and the territories.
I get a call from the doctor himself, and he said, hey, everything has changed. We cannot help you anymore.
I pull over, I can't even function right now.
I don't really know how to start this, but I'm 6 weeks pregnant, and I had an abortion appointment tomorrow, and things got shut down.
I found that pill site that you told me about.
Since you are in a state where it is banned, you don't want to put them in vaginally, because if something happened and you went into the hospital, we don't want to have anything that they can tell that you actually took medication. Here's one. My mom tried these sites. Which one will ship directly to restricted state? We ordered from Abortion RX Friday and they refunded the money. But it looks like Abortion RX is not prescribing to the banned states anymore. So I gotta let Francine know that.
I work for a tribal clinic. We're reverting back to a law from 1849. Abortion is against the law in this state. It is a felony. Our doctors said order it, regardless of what our attorneys, our legal counsel said, order it. But we can't, so far we can't purchase it. I'm trying.
I might talk to, other tribal clinics and find out what other people are hearing. If you band together, I think that's a good idea, like you said.
Exactly.
Yeah. When I was on Friday, I was doing nothing else except answering the hotline, the phone calls and the text. Prescribing across state lines they'll have a warrant out for my arrest for murder in Texas and
Wow.
other places. But I don't mind not going there as long as people protect me from being extradited and sent to those states. And I really don't want to spend the rest of my life in jail.
This is not established law. There are no precedents. So let's make them. Let's push the boundaries. We're asking you to try and protect us as much as you can. And they're like, we can't do it because then people might be misled in thinking that this is okay to do. Or we don't need this yet. And that's really frustrating because we're just going to build capacity in New York so people can come to New York. And you're like, no, people who are poor do not have the resources. Even if you give them the money to travel, they have jobs, they have families. They can't get they just can't take a leave of absence. You can't take a leave of absence from 3 part-time jobs making minimum wage to be able to go get an abortion in New York.
We used to say, oh, Roe will never get overturned. Well, it did. There's a very real possibility that if our government gets a Republican president and they get back the House and the Senate, that they will ban abortion across the United States.
Bye. See you later. Today we're here to meet with the entire group of intrepid providers who come from literally all over the world.
People are now just scared. They're afraid they will go to jail. It now immediately became like this big secret. And that is, I think, the biggest thing that this decision has caused. And I think that we need to do everything to turn that around again.
Especially the younger generation, where they get their information from is social media. And we are having a serious problem with social media blackout. They will remove posts that we write about abortion. I think Plan C's site went down, 8Axis' site went down.
We're spending way too much time just trying to fight every single time we get shut down.
Is it all the platforms?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And you're finding that too. And when you say shut down, you mean they just like
They took it off.
So should I give a speech?
Yes.
We met for the first time since we worked together, which is amazing that we have been a virtual team for more than a year. I mean, it's so exciting, so empowering, so hopeful.
Okay, I have stop this for fair use, y'all know, but I need to tell you about this. Hang on. Okay, so remember we had kind of talked about, well, there has to be more than just 2 cases where this has happened, and there absolutely is. I have found it now. Okay, thank you, Ryan. I'm going to post this over to World's Wave after I finish it and I get it a little bit edited, because right now it's on private. It's not gonna load up on public because I want to make sure I, just get it cleaned up a little bit. Anyway, here we go. So remember a while ago we said there has to be more examples of this. Well, here are some examples of cases related to prosecution. Hang on, my little light went out. Yeah, I'm upstairs in my media room because my family is downstairs and I don't have dogs barking all day. So here we are. Boy. So in Nebraska in 2023, a teenager and her mother were convicted after the teen had terminated her pregnancy using this. The case highlighted concerns about the use of digital data in prosecution-related cases as authorities use personal digital data, web searches, and text messages to prosecute. That is overreaching, I think, but again, this is for educational purposes only. Anyway. And then, of course, in Texas, we know about our guy that's been, Justin Banta. He's been alleged with capital murder. We know about the other guy, the lawyer who also did this. But in Mississippi, a woman named Gladys Fisher was indicted on a second-degree unaliving charge in 2018 after searching online for ways to induce this and for buying the pill online. The case relied partly on evidence from her cell phone data. So there are also, I found this kind of interesting too over here. There also are resources if you think that oh gosh, the flooding is just terrible here. There are resources if you think that you're going to get in trouble for this that are helping people who do get in trouble for this legally. There's the Repro Legal Helpline. It's a free confidential source that offers information about the law and self-managed and connects people to lawyers if they have been investigated or arrested for having this. I think this is good. Pregnancy Justice, an organization dedicated to defending the rights of pregnant people against criminalization because of pregnancy or pregnancy outcomes. So if you are seeking information about the legality of this or need legal support, reaching out to these resources can provide helpful guidance. Okay, that's good to know. I'm glad that there is something out there for these people. So let's continue watching.
I just have to say, Francine, you are the connector. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't be here. So, cheers.
Takes everybody. It takes the village. We built the village. Here, can I add something to that, Rebecca?
Francine.
Yeah. Look at the moment where we are in the United States. It's a shit show. It's a horror show in terms of access to abortion. And yet, thanks to you around this table, there's a whole new option that is real.
Miscarriage management everywhere in the US where there's red states. We do abortions in the other states, but the miscarriage management is in the other states.
I don't like this idea of going to the devious, this is miscarriage, when there's a legitimate way to do it.
I still think we haven't gotten the good language for what you are as a
facilitator.
Theater and the better.
If someone is in Massachusetts, until all of their surrounding states also get shield laws, it's sort of like, can you travel out of Massachusetts? I mean, it's all risk tolerance.
Our biggest goal is to get the word out about access in the red states.
We are demanding of our lawmakers to say, we need you to protect us to do what's right. Yeah, what we took an oath to do.
The fear that people have is somebody watch me when I come back, if I bring the pills back to Texas, where do I have to take them? All these questions are terrorizing people.
When fear happens, as we know, and abortion is the perfect example, it becomes word of mouth. Who do you trust that you ask?
Let me explain to you a little bit about how this works.
The message I want to convey is that we are everywhere. And if I am arrested and jailed, there will be 10 people behind me to do this work. And if those are jailed, then there will be 100 people behind them.
If we just minimally do an accurate threat assessment, I really do think our victory is inevitable.
Station a police officer at my mailbox. I dare you. I do it to all the mailboxes in Texas. Good luck.
You make your decisions and it forms your life. It forms your story. It's not something that anyone should be ashamed of anymore.
I wanted to make a decision for myself. What's best for me right now in my situation.
Every time I talk about it, it makes me feel a little bit better.
It's just nice to be heard, and it's nice to tell my story on this.
Whether you feel guilty, shame, joy, all of the emotions that you can have, they're normal, and other people are having them too. You're not alone.
Okay, so that was our movie on that. So let me tell you about one thing, and then I'm going to end this because I know we all have things to do on Saturday. And I hope you enjoy listening to this. I hope you've learned something from it because I know I have. And again, we all have the right to make our own decisions, right? Let me get this off of here. Hold on. All right. So, let me tell you about something. And this is desperate measures. And so when you hear about these desperate measures, you have to think to yourself, you know what? Really? God, it's so sad. So here we go. Let me find this little story I found. Okay, so listen to this. This is kind of recent too. So more recently, however, a new jurisprudence has begun to emerge. In Utah in 2009, a 17-year-old woman paid a man $150 to beat her in an attempt to induce this aid. The teenager, who was living in poverty at the time, would have had to negotiate Utah's waiting period and strict parental involvement to afford the cost of this at a clinic in Utah, okay? Because they had banned the Medicaid for paying for this in Utah. Now that is desperate measures, and it's really sad to hear, and it's horrible. I mean, in 2010, a direct response to this case, the state legislature amended the Utah Criminal Code to give the state the power to prosecute women who seek to terminate this outside of legal medical channels. So in 2010, she could have went and made a choice for herself without going to this extreme, because they used her case to help win the rights for these people, so you don't go to these extremes. So anyway, all right. So that's all about that, and we've talked about Plan C and all that happens with that, and how many times people have been prosecuted for this, and where it comes from, where it stems from. It's really a terrible situation. And again, all of this was brought on by Justin Banta's choice to put this in his girlfriend's drink, because he and his wife knows about this, wanted her to not keep this, but she wanted to keep this. So when she refused, he made the choice for her. So when I put out here that the name of the stream is The Art of Decision Making, and then Justin Banta, because he chose wrong. What he did was very wrong, and he's now being prosecuted. But anyway, we will keep up with that case, and anything that comes out about it, I'll let you know, because I think it's very interesting, and I think that everybody needs to know about this. Other women need to know about this. You need to realize that they can't do this to you. No matter what it is, you still have rights in this world. And as a woman, you need to protect your rights. Anyway, that's enough about that. I'll see you another time. Talk to you later. I'll probably go live on Monday, and we'll talk about some other cases that we've been watching or reading about or learning about. So anyway, bye guys. See you later.